Hello, everybody out there on the internet and radio land. I'm Nicholas. I'm here in the basement of La Penta, and yeah, I assume you're out there listening, hopefully. To start off my segment, I would like to talk about American foreign policy. Well, before I start that, I should say that I do have a bias. I am a conservative, and I do believe in borders, language, and culture. And I'm not going to bash Obama because, God forbid, we have 101 radio shows that bash him, and they do an okay job. But one thing that Obama has done that really concerns me is his policy on Syria. This president, throughout his past 5.5 years, almost 6 years now, has done nothing but butcher the Middle East. George Bush in 2003 took out Saddam Hussein. Mr. Iraq, the man who was defeating the terrorists in Iraq, he went in there, took him out, and now he's leaving ISIS. Iraq and ISIS is part of George Bush's policies, and Obama has made it worse. Under Obama, we've gone from bad to nightmarish scenarios. This man took out Mubarak, somebody, and the Egyptian leader, who was a friend to America on its war on terror. Was he evil? Of course he was. Well, he wasn't the nicest guy in the world, but he was on our side. He took out Gaddafi, who became our friend after 9/11, taking on terrorism. Now look at Libya today. Look at Egypt today. He supported Morsi. Under Morsi, thousands of Christians in Egypt were being persecuted. The churches were being burned down. You had nuns running around with their hands up, going to prison. You had crosses taken down with a cutter like flags. And when the people finally rose up against Morsi, this president did not support them again. He wanted his man Morsi in, and that image projected his support for the Muslim Brotherhood and the terrorism that took place in Egypt. Now, thankfully, Egypt is back in the hands of the militants, of the military. This president went against them, but right now the Egyptian military is our one and only ally besides Israel in the Middle East. If you look at Libya today, it is something you'll see in probably some sci-fi movie. Desert land, militants taking over. And now he wants to go into Syria and take out Assad. This man has clearly learned nothing from the failed policies of Bush and his failed policies in both Libya and Egypt. I support taking out ISIS, ISIL, whatever they're called. They are butchering innocent people. But at the same time, you cannot fight two enemies at once. The president wants to support moderate rebels, who he has no idea who these people even are. It really is a joke if the situation wasn't so funny or sad to see. So the president is still conducting the airstrikes against Syrian claims. Syria does not support this. Assad does not support this. If I was the president right now, I would call Assad on the phone and go, "Hey buddy, I don't like you, you don't like me, but you know what? These guys are bad in ISIS, and I'll support you 100% in whatever you have to do to take these people out." This president said 2 days ago he wants to take out Assad with ISIS. Well, Mr. President, you can't have one without... Wait, I'm going to cut that phrase. That's silly. But the president wants both eggs in the basket. Either you defeat ISIS with Assad's help, or you mind your own business and let everything play out. For 30 years, our policies have been one way or another. In the 80s, we supported Saddam in Iraq. 20 years later, we're against him. We're killing him. One day we're against Iran. Now we're for Iran. The Kurds, I personally would help them out, give them arms, and I would provide them their own state once ISIS is defeated. Now, Turkey will not like this, but Turkey will have to suck it up and deal with it. The president must act pretty consistently and not follow the failed policies of the Middle East for the past 30 some odd years. It's not an easy thing to say to keep Assad in power. Of course, he's a bad guy, but I'd rather have him than somebody 10 times worse, such as ISIS. Assad should be our friend right now. Putin should be our friend right now, instead of making them our enemies, which doesn't make any sense. We have a common enemy right now. Us and the Russians have a common enemy for the first time since World War II. I will call Putin, I will call Assad, I will say, guys, Send in your troops, send in the airplanes, we'll watch, and if you need help, we'll support you. But the president won't do that. Our Congress won't do that. Our government is probably, I would assume, on something. I'm not sure what they are on, but they're not clean, that's for sure. Because the thinking is so irrational right now. I can't believe that these people are actually in charge of this country. It's a sad, fair state. But our military is strong, powerful, and I believe at the end of the day, the president will wake up and see what's going on in the world. The greatest leaders in the Western world has right now is definitely not Obama or Cameron, who's just a PR man in the UK. I really believe that the West must turn to Tony Abbott of Australia, who's taken on ISIS in his home country of Australia a week ago, arresting suspects who are connected to ISIS, who wanted to plot a decapitation in public a week ago. Tony Abbott is a strong leader. He believes in borders, language, and culture, and he's a true man for Obama to look up to. If I were the president, I would call Tony Abbott and say, Mr. Prime Minister, teach me what you have done in Australia, and I would ask him for his advice. Also, Merkel in Germany. She might be a woman, but she definitely has courage and guts, unlike Cameron and Obama. And also Putin. Sure, is he a nice guy? No. But you know what? He's against ISIS. He supports a stable government in Syria. And you know what? I would have Putin as my friend than ISIS. I would have Putin and Assad around than ISIS. I would have Saddam around than ISIS. Egypt and Libya are in chaos because Obama took out the leadership. Stabilized leadership within these countries for years. And now they're gone, especially in Libya. You have Benghazi, you have militants harassing tourists, militants taking over the country pretty much. This country has no government. Am I still on time? Okay. This country still has no government. The Middle East is a disaster. China, they're taking over Asia. They're hacking our computer systems. We went into Iraq, promised oil. We got nothing. China's buying the oil. Iran is the new best friend. The true winner of the Iraq war is sadly Iran. They are now the #1 dog in the Middle East. Saddam Hussein, who kept Iran in check for decades. Was he evil? Yes. But you know what? I'd rather have a strong Saddam watching Iran than a weak Iraq being friends with Iran, who hates Israel, and Netanyahu will be in trouble soon, I assume, once Iraq is stabilized thanks to Iran and Syria. The U.S. must conduct airstrikes. ISIS is the new Nazi Germany, but we should not be involved if there is no endgame. Without an endgame, we'll be there for God knows how long. If Bush had his way, we'd be all over the Middle East right now. The policies for the past 50 years of this country since World War II, we went into some country with no endgame and we lasted decades. Many lives sadly died in vain, unfortunately. But we should learn from all the past, from the past 50 years until now. Korea, Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan, the overthrow of Mubarak in Egypt, Gaddafi in Libya. This country must stay stabilized in their foreign policy and must do what we have to do to carry on. Obama, if he's listening, which I highly doubt, but Obama, please, pick a side, stick with it. Please support the Assad regime because, frankly, they might be evil, but they're the best we got. We've seen what ISIS has done. They're evil. But the president should stay steady and go to Congress for these airstrikes. Mr. Cameron is against these airstrikes because his parliament has refused them. David Cameron, of course, in Parliament has no overmajority, so he can't do whatever the hell he wants at the moment. But Parliament rejected them in Syria, thankfully, and hopefully his Parliament will reject them again, because Mr. Cameron will follow the Blair doctrine and go into this country with no endgame. Obama and Cameron are probably in their early 50s, late 40s, to world leaders, their children, and they're acting like it. I hope that they grow up a little bit. Make reasonable, sound decisions. Call Putin, call Assad, call Tony Abbott, call Merkel. Please, have an endgame. Give the Kurds their own land, and keep the Middle East stable again. And the only way to do that is that these dictators in charge. Democracy is nice in the Middle East, but they're too far away from that, and that's not reality right now. That's fantasy land. In reality, we need these people in charge, because without them, we have seen the results of what Obama and Bush's policies have been for the past almost 16 years now. And as long as these policies stay, more Americans will die, more innocents will die, and radical Islamists will take over the Middle East sooner rather than later. We're dealing with an enemy, and we have leaders who have no way out, no strategy. Their only answer is bomb, 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 bomb. And if we hate a dictator, that's too bad. Keep him in power, but Obama says no. These people have to be free without knowing who these people are. It is very irrational and very confusing, quite frankly. I'm not sure what Obama's going to do next. Probably continue bombing, could probably continue to get Assad, which is dead wrong. This president clearly is out of his league. Our leaders are clearly out of our league. It's time to turn to strong Western allies such as Germany and Australia and have them lead the way and show Obama and Cameron a few new tricks. Hopefully I passed the test. Hopefully I'll see you coming days from now. Thank you and goodbye.